Hello everyone, I'm Mariama and I'm super excited to be here tonight. So before I'm going to share with you the content of my talk, I want to do a little exercise so you fully understand what we're going to talk about today. I want you to take out your mobile phones. It's an app talk after all, right? So please get out your mobile phones, and for the iOS users, the 20% I guess in the room, they can go under settings and then go under about, and they're going to see the number of app installs on their device. And for Android users, if you go directly to the Google Play Store, you will be able to see the number of app installs. If you go under general settings, about, and then it says the number of apps installed. All right. I'm not going to torture the first two rows, but if I could ask everyone to get up, please, except the comfortable front rows. Thank you. Don't worry, you're going to be sitting for the rest of the talk. And the people in the front, you can raise your hand. All right, so I would like everyone who has less than 50 apps installed to sit down. Surprisingly. Okay, below 75 apps. Below 100. Okay, question on to the last one standings. From the around 100 apps you have on your device installed, how many do you use on a monthly basis? You know, just roughly, 20, 30. How many? 20. Around 20? Okay. Thank you. So I want you can sit down. Thank you for your participation. So the reason why I did this exercise is basically I want you to remember this exercise throughout the entire talk. Because as app developers or app marketers or as businesses who are focusing on like having an app, it's important to understand that it's not just about having installs. It's about having the right customers downloading your app and using your app. You don't want your app just to be like a nice home icon on someone's screen, on your screen. You want them to engage with it. So today, I'm going to start with a little introduction of the mobile app landscape and introduce like how it has changed within the last 10 years, like the last decade. And then I will talk about universal app campaigns, which are basically Google's app install offers, how it works, how we shifted from our individual app campaigns to like UAC, and then once you understand how to get valuable users for your business, what are you going to do next? How can you engage them? So this would be the second part of the talk, and at the end I will be sharing some best practices, and hopefully we have some time for some Q&A. But I mean, as Patricia said, we are here for the next 2 weeks, so feel free. I'm in campus every day. If you have any app-related questions in regards to your business, just feel free to grab me for a coffee, and then we can look into this. So let's look into apps. So we are all users ourselves, right? So, I mean, at least I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is take my phone. And unfortunately, it's the same thing in the evening before I go to bed. I use my phone. And why do I use my phone? It's because I have apps installs. So apps make my life just easier. I have WhatsApp. Is it communication apps? Is it travel apps? Is it now reading apps? It's just like basically for every need I have during the day, if I'm looking for something, if I'm going somewhere, I use my phone, and in particular, I use apps because they're just so much more efficient and they give me the answer quicker. So, you know, apps is just like we can't imagine our lives anymore without apps. So what does it mean as an app developer? What does it mean? How does it relate like to a business? So if we look at these numbers here, you know, as I said, apps are part of our lives, but how does it translate as a business? We're talking about 90 billion installs just last year. 90 billion. I just don't want to throw numbers at you. I want you to understand the context of these numbers, how big the app industry has grown. So we're talking about 81 billion revenue generated in 2017 through apps. 81 billion. But then if we look at the numbers and we look at the user behaviors, on average, users only download 26 apps. Because app industry is growing, but at the same time, the users have become pickier and pickier with which apps to download. Is it because of storage? Is it because of cost of install? So you want to make sure that you get the right users to download your app for the right price, but at the same time making sure that they're using it. So moving on, so why are apps so important? Why are you using apps? I mean, you might be an app developer in this room or an app marketer, but at the end of the day, to someone, you are a user, probably a valuable user. So why are you using apps? Because apps make our lives easier in a sense like I can access resources without having to call. Like let's say, for example, my banking app. I love my banking app. So before, I mean, I'm with Barclays. Every time when I had a problem, I would have to call Barclays. They would transfer my call to their call center in India. I would have difficulties to understand, or maybe even Scotland. So it will take ages. Sorry, premium clients only are sent to Scotland. But I would, it's a long journey. I would be in a waiting queue. I wouldn't know how long it will take. And I mean, just 2 weeks ago, I arrived in London and my card was blocked. I didn't understand why, because I had money on my account. But I just opened my app, I went on the chat function, and then I immediately, after answering some security question, they were able to immediately unblock my card, because just for security purposes, because I was traveling in 3 different countries in 1 week, they put a temporary blockage on it. So I had, it's an amazing function. I had immediately a solution, and it saved me a lot of time. So that's the reason why we are now making apps a big part of our lives. And for you as app marketers and app developers, it gives you the chance to get the right customers and to increase their loyalty, to strengthen the relationship with the right clients, and to have access to their behavior, like, what do they most like about your app? Why do they download it? What is actually the reason why they downloaded it? And in order to understand where your app sits within your entire business, I mean, for some of you, maybe your app is your business, but for those who, maybe have a mobile presence and then they have an additional app, it's important to ask yourself, what does your app bring to the customers? What makes it so unique that customers download your app and want to engage with it? What is your unique selling point? So what are the actions you want your customers to do in your app? But then these actions, how do they translate in revenue or in growth for your own business? So looking into now, marketing an app, congratulations, you have an amazing app. We all know so many apps that no longer exist. And why is that the case? Because marketing an app has become more and more complex in the last 10 years. It's not anymore about having a great product, having a great app, and maybe in some cases, your app has an excellent user experience, and if the users would actually try it, they would love it, and you would have millions of users using it. But how do you get your app in front of all these million users? So, I mean, if we look at the app stores, there are 2.2 million apps on Google Play Store and over 2 million apps in iTunes. So if I want to download a running app and I put in running, I'm gonna have 20 different apps as a result. So why would I choose yours? How am I gonna know about that yours is so much better than all the others? Especially given the fact that some apps have already a bigger market presence than some of yours as a startup. So not only it's hard to discover your app, but on top of it, being an app marketer has become very complex. You have to target so many different people in so many different countries or different cities. And then gender plays a role. There are so many different factors when it comes to targeting strategy. You want to segment the right audience, and then you want to target them individually so that you have a better conversion. But as an app marketer, you have to look at your keywords. What are the keywords I need to put together so my app comes actually up when people look for things related to my app? And then you have, creatives. You have to look at your audience. So it becomes more and more, you have more and more tasks to do, tasks that consume so much of your time, and we're talking nearly about 80% of your time. Even you do have campaigns and you do get a few users, but then how can you optimize that? How can you get a better performance? So that, again, takes a lot of your time. And then lastly, we do have an entire shift. So I started as a mobile app specialist 2 years ago. And I can see already the differences when I just started and I got introduced to the industry and today. So when I started, it was all about all our biggest EMEA customers, app advertisers. They were all about get me as many installs as possible. I want to have installs at scale. I want to have the next 10 million installs. How do I get them? But now they realized, like that's why I did the exercise at the beginning. Everyone in this room can have my app installed. But how is it going to benefit my business if it's just on, on their phones, but they're not using it? So we're shifting now from, from an install to actually lifetime value. You want to engage the right clients, and you want to have them for as long as possible. So this is kind of like the shifting, and that's why understanding this new industry and how it actually shifts has become a big, big challenge for app marketers. And on top of it, we do the number of app developers that have more than 1 billion installs per month has increased by 35%. So competition is fierce. So how do you get your app with all these other great apps out there? How do you get them in front of the right users at the right time for the right price? So I want to talk to you a little bit about the history of app marketing so you do understand why we are here, why we're doing what we're doing today. If we look at 2007, like a decade ago, 10 years ago, so that's where Google was one of the first players in the app advertising business, and that's where maybe some of you remember when you had an app installed, then you would see, a little app, a little ad coming in, trying to advertise you maybe another game or another, another booking app or another retailer. So this is how we started. But then 2010, user behavior has changed. People looked more into, they went directly to the iTunes Store, the Google Play Store, to find apps that is related to what they're looking for. So that's where we, as Google, had the challenge, okay, how do we get our top advertisers on top of the chart? So this is how we focused around, like in the year of 2010. But then 2014, we realized, wow, there's actually different user profiles. So as a gamer, I'm launching a new military game. So I know the users are probably going to be male, the age of 18, 24, who are most likely going to install my game and going to play it. But so we started with targeting, discovering strategies. And then if we look at today, of 2017, as you can see, it says intelligent growth. So targeting the right users and having an understanding of who are the users you're most likely going to convert into loyal users, and who are the ones that are most likely to download your app. Like when it comes to makeup retailers, of course you're just going to focus your efforts on targeting women of a specific group who are most likely to buy these products. But now, like, if we look at 2017, we don't want to just find your users that are based on gender and age and demographics, because there might be a million other users out there who probably would like the game as well. But because we only think like, oh, we're just going to target, we use all our targeting budget by targeting male, this certain age, and they're probably going to install it and play it. But then we're actually missing out the opportunity of so many users who could become even better daily active users than the targeting group we have in mind. So moving forward, the challenge we are facing, and I guess one of the reasons why you're here in the room, is because you understand that your users are your most valid customers. And the challenge you have on a daily basis is how do you acquire, engage, return my valuable users. So, how do I get the right users? That's what we're going to look at now. At Google, we call it app promo. So we distinguish between two pillars. We focus firstly on mobile app installs, and it's like, I want installs. How do I get the right users? And then we look, once we have the installs, how do I re-engage with the users? So for the people who had around 100 apps installed and they only use 20, well, clearly I don't want to be one of the apps you don't use, but then in case you haven't used me, how do I get you back in the app and get actually your attention? So statistics have shown that we tend to spend around 2 hours on average in our apps on a daily basis. Unfortunately, the day is not long enough that I can use every single app on my phone. Even I probably downloaded it for a reason. So you are competing for attention. You are competing for your customer's dollar. So you want to make sure that you're going to get your share of this attention of your customers. So we're going to be focusing now on how do I get my users, the right ones. So looking at Google, I mean, at the beginning I showed you that we all know how important our apps are in our daily life and how they improve our lives, making it more efficient or faster or just more comfortable. But then looking at Google products, I mean, they became now so present in our lives that we don't even see them as products anymore. I arrived in Madrid. The first thing I did was looking up where my hotel is. Then I used Google Maps, looking how to get there, what's the quickest way to get. Then I was recommended this show, so I YouTubed it to get an idea like, oh, maybe I'm interested while I'm in Madrid for 2 weeks to see the show. So my point is that we have 7 products, that each product reaches more than 1 billion users in a month. So how can you leverage that and find your users by collaborating with these products? Because at the end of the day, we Google certain things because we want to know an immediate answer. We watch certain things because we're interested in this particular area. So this is where you have to think about. You want your ads to make people install your app in certain places. You want to show it at the right time to the right people for the right price. So we call these like each engagement we all have on a daily basis with like Google products, we call them engagements and we call them moments. And we try, as Google, we try to help our app advertisers to leverage these channels. So, well, I mean, I showed you before, 90 billion apps were installed this year. And from these 90 billion apps, we had 6 billion installs just because of Google app advertising. And we had, based on re-engagement targeting efforts, we had 3 billion in-app events per quarter. So just to give you an idea of, I mean, I know these are big numbers, but really think about the numbers. Think about it as an app developer, as an app marketer. Where can I best position my app? And I want a little share of these numbers. So let's look at what does Google actually use, or how can Google help you to get your app using the 7 products we have to get attention of your potential long-time value customers. So you can see here, we do have AdMob. That's what we call, having app advertising within apps. So that's how it looks like. You would be playing, or you would be like in a retail app, and then another app would show up, and most likely to those clients who would be interested in having that app on their phone downloaded. Then if you search, you use search terms. So, I mean, in that case, you see hotel tonight. So I arrived in Madrid. I'm just going to Google, Hilton Madrid because I'm familiar with the Hilton. And then this app will show up. And I think, oh, maybe I'm going to find a better hotel deal if I have that app because it shows me the best valuable deals. And then on YouTube, while you're watching, we're using our YouTube interest group to understand, who are users who are most likely to download your app. And then we have MGDN, and we have the Gmail app. So these are the app install campaigns we had until literally last week. We changed our entire app strategy, and we're trying to move forward and to be one of the first to change the fact that as an app advertiser, you would have to create an app for each individual network. On top of it, you would have to create an ad for iOS and for Android. Then on top of it, you would have to create an ad for each language you want to target. So depends on how many markets you want to expand. You would have to say, 10 markets, you would have to create an additional ad. So if we look in terms of like Uber is one of the biggest EMEA app advertisers I work with, and they had, have a guess, how many campaigns do you think did they have running on all these individual networks? Have a guess. 100? You should know, you're a Googler. No. So, about thousands. They had more than thousands. Uber operates in more than 100 countries. So we're talking about different languages. Uber, tries to get different users. They're trying to get users, but at the same time, they try to get drivers. So it's different objectives of their campaigns. So imagine the marketing team at Uber was so busy of evaluating the performance of each single campaign, of each single keyword or placement, and then they would try to optimize it. So 80% of their time would basically just go on improving their campaigns instead of improving their product, improving the customer service, improving the user journey in the app. So they realized that we can put our efforts into so much more strategic tasks than operational tasks like improving things. And they realized that, and not just Uber, in general, research have shown that 17% of users generate 85% of revenue. And that back to the exercise, let's say in this room are 100, 200 people and you have my app downloaded, but then how many people will actually use it and engage with it? And that actually, initiate the monetizing journey for me as an app advertiser. So this is why, and I keep on repeating in doing this talk, it is very important that you get valuable users. It took us a long time, educational-wise, to make the biggest app advertiser to realize it is not just having installs. Having installs it's nice, yes, you see the number increasing, but if you don't have anyone using your app, then you might as well not have the install, it just costs you. So that's where UAC comes in the game. Who of you have heard of universal app campaigns? Oh wow, okay, so, all right. Universal app campaigns are now a new campaign type that Google focuses on to help their app advertisers to get the right app users at the right time for the right price. What is universal app campaigns? So basically, as I showed you before, the 5 individual campaigns are now combined in one campaign. And on top of it, this campaign runs through Android and iOS, and on top of it, it combines all networks. So UAC uses machine learning as its solely success. So the way it works, you have one campaign running through all distribution channels Google has, and all what you have to do is define for yourself what are the actions that are most valuable to you as an app business. What are the actions, what are the conversions you want your users to complete in the app? Like if you are, a booking app, you want people to complete a booking. If you are a retailer, you want people to put something in the shopping cart and exit to checkout. If you are a gamer, you want people to try the next level or to reach the next level so that you keep them engaged. So we launched Universal App Campaigns 2 years ago. So it took us 2 years to show the entire market the benefit of UAC, because universal app campaigns are based, as I said, on machine learning. I will show you in a second how it actually works, but we had our biggest app clients running the individual campaigns while they start testing UAC, and the results they had made them shift their entire budget immediately to UAC because they saw the benefit. And most of all, as I said before, you would spend 80% of your time in manual optimization of your current marketing strategy instead of using that time to have a strategy growth plan or to improve your product and the user experience. So how does UAC work? Basically, it takes the action, the context, and the intent. It takes your insights. It takes your objectives. And then in combination with machine learning, it uses the distribution channel to reach the right users at the right time. So what does it mean? Okay, I don't have any gaming apps on my phone. So does it make sense for a game app to show me the advertising? I would be wasted advertising for them. So UAC would never ever show me any of these apps because they have analyzed my behavior. They have analyzed that I have, most of my apps I have are retail apps, lifestyle apps. So let's say 45% of my apps are lifestyle apps. So if I have the Zara app on my phone, it makes sense to show me a Mango app, because the chances that I would convert and install that app are so much higher than me downloading a gaming app. So this is how UAC now with machine learning is really trying to catch the right users at the right time with understanding a pattern of behavior. So I just said 5 minutes ago, before, like around 2014, we were looking and targeting the right groups with certain targeting strategies. We would always bucket our users into certain groups, like male, European, 18 till 24, female, 30 to 40. So with UAC, you don't do this anymore. Because with UAC, you're trying to get users, you look at the behavior. You don't look at gender anymore. You don't look at location anymore. I mean, it depends on where you are. Of course, if you're targeting just, the Spanish market, it would be only targeting the Spanish market. But if you want to expand your app campaigns and want to globally reach users, it wouldn't take into consideration like location targeting like it used to be with the app campaigns before. So forward-thinking companies actually have realized that, like most companies, they don't survive anymore if I don't have an app. Some companies purely rely on an app, but we're talking about conservative companies like banks, financial institutions. We're talking about retailers, classical retailers. They all have an app now because they realized if I want to bring my products to the right users, I need to compete for the attention. So instead of having my users spending their time in various apps, I want to make sure that I'm still in the game and get some of the attention. So by analyzing millions of data points in real time and making smart, optimized decisions, with UAC campaign, you will get the right attention of the right users at the right time. So, as I said before, UAC is great, and we can rely on machine learning. But UAC will not perform and would not get you the right users if you, as an app developer, do not understand who are your valuable users. Your insights are extremely important for a good performance of a campaign, for reaching the right users. If you do not understand what kind of people you want to have to download your app and to constantly engage with it, to bring you long-term value, to help you with sustainable growth of your app business, then you can use the best marketing strategy. You wouldn't be able to survive. We all know apps that had amazing services and products, but because they didn't understand, they didn't use their insights correctly or efficiently enough, they lost and they're not on the market anymore because the competition is fierce and no one is sleeping. So it's important that you really understand what are the actions. So if there's one thing I want you to get out of today's talk is really think about if you are a pure app business or if you're thinking of launching an app, what is the benefit, what is the value proposition of that app? What do you want people to do? How do you want to make money? By signing up for a newsletter, by joining a community, by liking something. So define for yourself, really, what are the actions? And we're not talking about just one single action. It's just for you to understand how many actions. It could be 10 actions that are really valuable for your business in the app. But it is important that you know what are the actions they're doing. And the actions your users are doing, what do they mean for me as a business? So we have now one campaign that shows when people are engaging with apps, that shows up when we're surfing the web, when we're watching on YouTube, and when we're going to Google Play Store to get some new recommendations of apps we would like to download. So it's the future thinking of app marketing. You still need the human resources. As I said, you need the objectives, you need the insights, and you need good creatives if you want your marketing strategy to bring you valuable apps. And then the machine learning is doing the rest for you. So before, I showed you one individual campaign by network, while now we have all four combined. We have search, display, video, and play in just one campaign. So I want to share with you now some examples of app advertisers we worked with who tried UAC and what their opinion is or their feedback is in regards to UAC. Because in the last 2 years, not only did we launch the product, but we took our app advertisers' feedback, because these are the ones we want to help most with getting the most out of the app business, to implement in the product. So Lazada, for example. Universal app campaigns are simple, scalable, and powerful. Setting up a campaign is quick and easy, which enables my team to focus on more strategic tasks. The difference in quality between users acquired with this new version of UAC, Universal App Campaigns, and previous campaigns is clear, and it works on Google on scale. So this is like, Lazada is a big shopping retail client. And just like probably some of you in the room, you have a lot of apps installed. But then with UAC, they got people to install the app, but to actually complete actions in the app and turn into loyal customers. So another example, Happen. So with a retail app, with like a retail app developer or app marketer, it's different to measure actions because you want them to complete certain actions in a sense that translate immediately into revenue growth for your business. So, mostly you want them to add something to a shopping cart and that translates into revenue. You sold your products. But then we do have clients like Happen. So one of the actions that matters to them is that users like, a simple like. But I don't know how Happen works, never used it, but for those who do, it's a simple like that could mean so much for the business because they want to grow their community. And then if people like, you can re-engage them. That means they're comfortable with the app. And then this would lead to deeper funnel actions. So we actually had 68% decrease in cost per registration because with UAC, they got the right users who not only installed the app, but are starting engaging with the app. Then we do have a gaming client. So with Universal App Campaigns provided us with the most efficient way to implement promotion when launching a new game. We're happy to see that the product continues to improve and willing to invest more in the future, including expanding to engagement campaigns. So when we tested Universal App Campaigns with our gaming clients, we immediately saw 100,000 new users acquired in the first month. But not just acquired in a sense of like they downloaded the game. No, they actually played the game and became daily active users. So another example, Vodafone. With Vodafone, we did a lot of experiences. And for them, when they launched a UAC campaign, it was they wanted to drive people to install the app. But of course, you would only target people who already have a Vodafone contract or have any relation with Vodafone, because that was their additional benefit of having an app, creating loyal customers and a deeper relationship with the clients they already have. But when they launched their app, they realized that, wow, not only did we increase the numbers of installs and engagement in the app, we actually had a 42% lower call volume per month. So 42% of the users went to the app and engaged with the app instead of taking the phone and calling the customer service. And lastly, Uber, one of my favorite app advertisers. So with Uber, Uber used their Universal App Campaigns not to target you or me to use Uber and to sign up for rides. They actually wanted to get more drivers. So they had specific objectives and how do we get more drivers to join Uber and scale that across all our markets. Because they wanted to grow their business, but for that they needed more drivers. So they actually had 45% higher install to sign up ratio. So I'm just giving you these examples across industries to give you an understanding of how important it is to get the right users. That even until today, the biggest app advertisers, and most of us have their apps installed, that they're struggling with the same challenges like you're still struggling with. I want the right users using my app as much as possible, because only then can I grow. So, before I'm going to jump to the next section, I want you to reflect on the first part of this talk. What does your app mean for your business? Are you optimizing the user experience? and what in-app actions matter to you. If you can answer these questions now, then you are on the right way and you are investing your efforts and your time into the right strategy. Because if you don't have that defined, as I said, you can have the best UAC campaigns running, but you wouldn't get the performance you're expecting to see. If you identify that, you're going to acquire new and usable users. You're going to be able to optimize the user experience, because that is another big challenge app advertisers face. Marketing your app has become so challenging. Like, as I said, 80% of your time goes on like trying to get the app in front of the right eyes, making them install it and engage with it. But then you can use that time to actually improve your app, the user journey in the app. Like yesterday, I was working with one of the startups here, and when they were talking me through the different actions in the app the user had to do, and it started immediately with the registration, they realized, oh wow, we have a 25% drop from action number 3 to action number 4. Why is that the case? And the reason was because the registration required them to put in a code that is sent to their app. And because people do not put the code immediately in, they lost 25% of people who downloaded their app and they're willing to register, but because the code might be delayed, or the message came and then they had to leave the app and they have to go to the messages to see the code. So something so simple, a feature that they immediately reached out to the app developer and could have been like, they fixed it immediately, but it already cost them 25% of potential registrations. So think about your user experience. You always, like, if I look at my Barclays app 5 years ago, and if I look at it now, it constantly improves. Facebook, look at all the apps you're using. It constantly takes all the insights they get from your user behavior to improve the user journey, because that's how you get long-term value. You keep on getting them engaged by giving them better services and a better product. And take always yourself as an example for another app developer, because they are targeting you. They want you to use it, because you maybe be the one who's going to turn into a daily active user and going to help them to grow their business. So the same way how you want your users to do this, always keep in mind, you're a user yourself and use that experience. All right, so yeah, amazing. You have an app and now you get even people downloading your app. So what's next? What do I need to do? How do I get my users engaged? Because going into app re-engagement now considers you to understand what is the app journey, what is the life cycle of an app. So only 6% of Android, of users, re-engage with the app after 30 days. 6%. And you're one of them. You download an app, and then maybe, you don't even make it to opening it. Maybe you do make it to opening it, but then you never open it again. And after 30 days, you forget about that app. It stays just on your phone. So how can you overcome that challenge? So this is where it's getting increasingly complex. Not only do you have the chance to find the right users, then you finally have the right users, or you think you have the right users, but then how do I get the users into my app? Because, oh no, they only have 2 hours in apps on a daily basis. I want, 5 minutes out of it, 10 minutes, or at least once a month, I want them to open my app. How do I do that? So you have to understand the user journey. There are steps where you can immediately lose your users. So I mentioned it already. The first step is you get the user to install your app, but then, the first challenge is they don't even make it to activation. So, half of your users are gone and they haven't even used your app. Why is that? That's usually because the app provides a poor onboarding. As I gave the example, it was one of the startups I worked with yesterday. They lost 25% of their users just because of a simple feature. The next step, okay, they're going to make it and they're going to activate the app and they're going to use it. But then the word of mouth is so powerful. The reason why Uber has become Uber is because a friend told the other friend, and then he told the other friend. You use the users as advocates, as ambassadors of your own app. They're doing the job for you. They're bringing the app out there. But users are not going to do it if they're not 100% happy and convinced of that app. So Snapchat, I never heard about Snapchat. And then out of the sudden, my friends come up, be like, oh, let's take a Snapchat. It's like, what the hell is Snapchat? And then this is how I was introduced to Snapchat. And then because it's my friend and she liked it, I was like, oh, okay, that looks like fun. Let me download it. I've never seen any Snapchat advertising. I've never seen any ad coming up and introducing me to Snapchat. I just literally downloaded it because my friend told me about it. Even if you think about Facebook, Facebook started as a small community in a university to bring people together and provide them with a place where they can exchange, experiences, opinions, or share. And then it spread. And now look at where Facebook is now, because it's one person tells the other. It started with a little university community, and then it started with a second university community, and now look where it is now. So the reason why I'm showing you this journey is this is where you have to be careful and where you have to understand. If you look at your users, if you look at the users who install your app, where do I lose them? Because you want to get into the last part. You want to make money with your app, because otherwise you're not even going to survive 2 or 3 months. Once you're going to lose them all the way, you never got them to actually engage with your app and do an action that would create sustainable growth for your business. So this is where re-engagement comes in. If you understand and re-engage, here we go. So if you come up with a strategy, and then again, once you understand your users, why are they not, they're downloading it. They took the time to downloading it. So, you should really get them to open it and to use it so they can get used to it and re-engage with it. But this is where, let's say, for example, you have a hotel app. I download a hotel app, and then I type in the city where I want to go, but the app doesn't give me any autocorrect, and then it doesn't find the city I'm putting in. I'm gone. I'm never going to open that app again. How can you re-engage me as a lost user? So that's where then, as a retargeting strategy would be, they would show me an ad that gives me that place, and then it drives me back to the app, and then you learn that the user left your app because there wasn't autocorrection in the search box. A feature like that, you can lose a lot of your app users, and they will never open it again. So this is where you really have to understand the potential challenges where you can use your users, but then once you understand them, how can you use it to your benefits and re-engage them? So it's all about user experience, and always think about yourself as a user in different apps. So this just highlights, you probably have already your most valuable users. They probably have already your app. But that's if you don't make them re-engage with it, if you don't keep on bringing them back to the app until they become so familiar with it and an advocate for your app, then you're losing them. So make sure to use the people who have already your app installed, because they installed it for a reason. And think about the ones you have already. So in order to understand that, it's where data plays a big role. If you don't use the numbers you see after 1 month launching your app, after 2 months launching your app, after 6 months launching your app, if you don't take these insights and you translate them into behavior, into user actions, into, drop-off places, into, okay, I understand now our users get to A, B, C, they go all the way down the funnel, but then why do they not complete the shopping? Why do they not complete the free sign-up? You're already offering them something for free, and they still do not complete it. Why is that? So if you take these insights, you will be able to, track action by action what your users are doing. You'll be able to understand the problems and to get the feedback and loop it back to your app developers who would be able to implement this feedback immediately in the app and provide a better user journey. And that will make you re-engage with your right users at the right time and bring you sustainable growth for your app. Think about the actions you want to have in your app. Are you a retailer? Are you a gamer? Are you a travel app? Think about the industry you're tapping in with your app. What are the actions? Are you just like a social app? Like as an example before, I gave Happen. So Happen depends on people actually liking each other. A little heart can mean so much to their business. But who are you? What are the actions you want people to do? How do you make money? How do you grow as a business? Is it when people, join a group? Or if people complete the game? Or if people, add the payment information? So think about these actions. And it's not about having one action. It's, it starts with one action. Oh yeah, here, you like something. Or it starts with users who put something in the cart, but they never end up shopping. But that they already put something in the cart means already that there's potential for future buyers. Or people who put something on a wish list. Okay, they haven't bought yet anything, but I can retarget them, and maybe they become my future buyers. So think about these actions and how these actions can translate into future behavior. Or like a booking app. They might not have booked this time, but at least they looked at the app, they looked at different bookings. But eventually, if you use a good retargeting strategy, they will eventually end up booking. So this is how it is important to understand it's not one action. Think about the actions that drive value to your business. So we all have been sent once, or probably plenty of times, a YouTube link or any link. Is it now of a handbag, or of a game, or of a book? And when you receive the link, you certainly do not want this to happen. It sends you to the home screen. Like if I got be sent a YouTube link with a funny video or a great song, I don't want to be sent to YouTube to the home screen and then myself have to go to the search box and look up what actually my friend sent me to get what I wanted in the first place, because you want to be sent immediately to the site your friend sent you to. And how do you do that? So this is where we're looking at universal and app links. These are the fundamentals of re-engagement. If you don't have app and universal links for iOS and Android in your app installed, then you're not going to provide a good user experience. Universal and app links send the users to the site in the app where they want to go. If they don't have the app installed, that's when they send it to the app store to download it. But nobody likes to waste time. If I go to Zara, like somebody sends me a jumper, I don't want to be going to the home screen. I want to be sent immediately to the jumper, because then probably, oh, I like the jumper. That was a good recommendation of my friend. Let me buy it. But if I'm sent to the home screen, I'm not going to buy the jumper. I don't have the time. I do it another time, and then I forget about it. So this is the future of re-engagement. If you do not have app and universal links installed for your iOS and Android apps, then you cannot use re-engagement targeting as a strategy for your app marketing strategy. So one of our clients, Wish started in 2011, and now it's one of our biggest clients. And the way they defined their strategy is by retargeting the right clients who started with liking something, and then they started with putting it on a wish list, and then they're putting it in the cart, and eventually they ended up loyal shopping clients. So they started in 2011. We're talking about 6 years ago. And they competed with apps like Amazon, like Walmart in America. It's a San Francisco-based company. But this is how, once they understood who are their users and why do they not complete any shopping on our side, how do we gain their trust? How do we get them re-engaged? How do we make people loving our app so much because we're providing this excellent user journey that they tell their friends about it, and eventually we're going to grow our user base, one of our clients. So before I move on to best practices, just to recap, again, who are your most valuable users and how do you optimize? These are questions you should really ask yourself if you want to grow your app. Because as I said, it's not just like, wow, I have an amazing app. Well, you can put it on the shelf, but nobody's going to download it. You're not going to make money with it. And, within 6 months, yeah, I had a great app, but unfortunately, people did never get to use it. But if they would have used it, they would have loved it. You don't want to be that kind of app advertiser and app developer. You really want to bring your product out there. So let me quickly talk you through how re-engagement works and what are the kind of users we identify to re-engage with. We have lapsed users. These are the users where you download an app, you install it, and then you don't even open the app. But the app is already there, so how can you re-engage with these people? Then we have existing users. So as I said, you have already users, they like the products in your app, but they haven't done anything with these products yet. They haven't bought them, they haven't done anything, but you actually want them to buy these products. Then we have active users. So, I take myself as an example. I have the Zara app. I like doing my shopping on the app. It's amazing. I'm an active user. So how can you keep on re-engaging me? And then you can deepen your relationship with a valued user. So these are the 4 users we identify for any re-engagement strategy. So what are the best practices with reactive lapsed users? So as you can see here, Mixi uses re-engagement to retain existing users and recapture lapsed users. So they targeted the users according to why they identified they didn't complete any actions in the app. And they segmented it by operation system and measured in 3 days. And the results they had brought them so many insights and got them so many installs, users who have already the app installed, back to the app. Then we have existing users. You really want to use the users who are already there, to do more in your app. How do they do that? So we had a company where they offered free trials. You offer people free trials, and then they like it. That's how you get them to spend money. I mean, you included, right? If you get something for free to try it, then you're most likely to end up paying $1 for it or $2 for it if you like it. But you're not going to pay for something where you don't even know if you like it or how it's going to, suit you. And then lastly, nearly lastly, active users. How do you activate that? Because at the same time, you don't want to keep on pushing them with too much re-engagement, right? You don't want to annoy your users who are already active on your app and every 5 minutes send them a re-engagement targeting. So the reason why we always recommend re-engagement instead of, for example, notification is because studies have shown that people who've been shown too many notifications end up leaving the app and uninstalling the app instead of people who are actually shown re-engagement campaigns. So that's the difference in case you ask yourself, but I can keep on notifying my clients. But what we do recommend is once the people are in your app, that's where you can send them push notifications, because that's when they already decided to come to your app. And if you want to tell them about a new feature or a new product, that's when it makes sense to try to re-engage them with notifications instead of before. So, and then lastly, we do have your most valuable customers. How can you even deepen the relationship more with them? And then again, that's where you look, you target only all the users you know already completed a purchase, completed a tutorial, liked someone, or created content. These are your most valuable users, and these are the users you want to keep on coming, you want them to keep on come to your app and use it as much as possible. And if we look now, as I said, app promo has 2 pillars. We do have app installs, and we do have app re-engagement. So how do I actually allocate my budget? How do I allocate my time and effort to these 2 pillars? So of course, it only makes sense to re-engage if you already have a certain numbers of installs, a certain numbers of users. So you shouldn't be starting with re-engagement of if you have 100 users. You first need to build your user base of installs before you can actually re-engage them. And when we look at even our top advertisers, we do have a split of 80-20. So usually they focus 80% of their effort, their time and their resources to getting the right installs, the right valuable users, and then they spend 20% of their resources to re-engaging them. But now we're actually seeing a shift moving into like 30–40%. That would be it for today from me. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them my way. Or as I said, I am around in campus. So if you have any app-related question in regards to your business, feel free to grab me for a coffee or, yeah. Thank you.